Hello everyone, Colin Cadet here for Woodwork Web. Today, in 5 minutes, I'm going to show you everything you need to know about air nailers for woodworking. Now before I get started, we have to thank Tackwise. Manufacturer came forward and gave us a few tools to use for this demo, so that we can help educate you on what's available and what's best and where you use it. The first thing we're going to look at is the gauge of the nail guns. So when you're looking at nails that you're going to be using in a nail gun, there's two things. Of course, the length, how long they are, but the other thing is how big around are they. And if we took these and cut them off, you'll notice that there's different sort of diameters. Now all of these pins are square, but they still go by something called gauge, and it's like wire. And the smaller, the higher the number. So a 23 gauge has a very small diameter. An 18 gauge is a little bit bigger, and today we're also going to look at a 16 gauge, and it's even bigger again. So that's the indicator of how big around the nails are. And then, of course, we'll look at the length, and we'll show you some examples of this. Here's an example of the 3 gauges that I want to talk about today. The top one is called a 23 gauge, and these are called headless pins because there's no head on them. And if you look closely, you'll notice that there's little arrows. Each one of these has little arrows on them, and the arrows point towards the chisel point. So this is where the pin wants to enter the wood. This is the top. So these are headless 23 gauge pins. The second one I'm showing you today is called an 18 gauge. You can see that it's quite a bit bigger, and of course they come in a variety of sizes. These do have a small head on them, and the chisel point is down here at the bottom. And the last one is the 16 gauge, quite a bit bigger again, and also has a head, and the chisel point is at the bottom. So these two are pretty easy to figure out the top and the bottom of. The 23 gauge, you do have to look closely to make sure you don't put them in upside down. The first one we'll look at today is the 23 gauge. So this pinner is upside down. There's where the pins come through. And if I pull this out, you'll notice that, see the little arrows there? So we push that in all the way, and then we just close that up, and that's ready to plug into the compressor and to use. So here's the 23 gauge pinner. Watch as it goes in. And that right there is the 23 gauge. You can see that there's no pin sticking up there. It's just made a very tiny hole. On some woods, that pin is not even visible because the wood will actually cover that, or mostly cover that. Before we connect the hose, there's one thing that I should mention, and that is that these tools come with a little bit of lubricating oil, and it's a good idea to put 1 drop of oil into the tool each time that you use it. And the reason to do that is because air compressors, very often when they're compressing air, they're also compressing moisture, and they're pushing moisture throughout your tool. And we put a drop of oil into our air nailers to help lubricate and prevent rust inside. The next nailer we're going to look at today is the 18 gauge, and this is what they call a 50 millimeter, and that's because it can take up to 50 millimeter or 2-inch nails. And there's some nails we're going to put in here, some air nails, and of course the head goes at the top. The way these work is just a squeeze at the back, and then you can push that all the way through. Now I'm going to release this for just a second and show you a feature that you might find on some tools, and this one has that. At some point or another, nails get jammed in these things. It's just one of the facts of life, and to clear them, sometimes you have to use a screwdriver to take them apart. This is great. This has got a little clip on the front of it, release that, to take anything that gets in there that might get jammed. So we put that in. Now remember, when we're installing nails, we're always unplugged from the air hose. So let's go ahead now and we can plug that air hose in. Most of these air nailers will not work. They will not fire if the pin is not pushed down. And you can see that this is one that doesn't do that. So you need to fire it, you need to push it down onto the wood and pull the trigger. And that will fire the pin. Now the last gun that we're going to look at today is the 16 gauge, and this is the biggest one that we have. And for this one, we have a little bit different loading system. And again, we're always unplugged here. So in this case, we can just drop the nail, and this is the head size here. We just drop the nails in, and it has a loading mechanism that all you need to do is pull a loading mechanism, and it grabs onto those nails just like that. Now what I want to show you on this tool has a mechanism that you might find on some bigger air nailers, and that is a continuous shoot switch. And we'll show you what that does. I have the switch set in the up position here, and that's for a single shot. So when I push down, just like the other nailer, it will fire a nail. And every time I push it, it will fire a nail. But when I move the switch to the lower position, watch what I can do. Not only can I fire it when I'm down here, if I hold the switch depressed, I can continue to fire as long as I keep pushing the nose down onto the wood. Now our buddies at Tackwise also sent us this little, it's just a stapler. I don't normally get excited about staples, but this one is cool. This is I think they call this their 350. What I liked about it, first of all, right off the bat, to load staples, it's really simple. And of course it takes all different kinds of staples. You just drop them in there and that's done. Now if you're an upholsterer or something and you want to keep a consistent edge, you can put this little adapter on. It comes with it, and it means that you can keep things all at exactly the same place. Just a really cool little adapter. But here's what I really like about this. This little stapler will take, look at this, 18 gauge nails. Now these are a little bit on the long side, but it's all I had here. And you just push them in. You have to make sure they're on this side. But look at this. If you're tacking on the back of a cabinet or something, this you can tack on. It drives those little nails. Now these nails are a little bit long, so they're sticking out, so they'll have to be tapped in. But imagine a little stapler that does that. And if you want, you could even add more power by moving to the plus. And that just about does drive them all the way in now. So it does make a big difference. So anyway, just thought I'd show you that. Just a really cool little model Z3140. A great little stapler. Well, that concludes our video on a quick look at air nailers, air nailing guns, and even a stapler. If you don't have an air nailer, you know, even a stapler might help you out for some of the things that you're doing. Not for everybody. Different people do different kinds of woodworking. Some use air tools and air staplers, and other people don't. So I use them for jigs and for doing little things around the workshop. I don't use them all the time, but I sure find they're handy when you do need something that's quick and easy and maybe even reversible. So, thanks for watching. Don't forget, if you haven't already subscribed to us, we ask you to do that. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. I'm Colin Cadet for Woodwork Web. Thanks for watching.